Coming up on this program, we show you how to get connected. Find out how to choose an internet service provider. Discover the newest form of communication, electronic mail.
Ways down and ready to ride. One by one, billion by billion, they're holding up half the sky. Raise your hand if you're ready and willing, if you know it's time. Time for a girl on time. Time for a girl on time. Time for a
Good morning. Hi, John. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. John, I owe you a story about how I became an immigrant to Canada. We will do that here in a moment. KC Carey 73. Back at it again. You sent a super chat. Hold on. I didn't do my job. Typical, that's so fucking typical of Paisley. Give me 1 second. I just gotta bring in this workaround so that I can pull your comments up on the screen. I have to do it every single day. Anyways, hold on. Now I gotta go over here and I can go back all this way and say, thank you for being so nice. I appreciate you. Let me say thank you. Oh. Oh my gosh. Okay, and Reseller Road Trip Adventures gifting 5 memberships. So generous. First of all, let me say thank you, KC Carey. Then, thank you to Reseller Road Trip Adventures, and welcome to all the new members. Let me scroll through the chat. There it is. Look how it glints. We're going to say it glints or glitters. Why is the green screen fucking up now? It was working just fine when I checked it a minute ago, y'all. You didn't know I was an immigrant? Why? I've assimilated, I guess, to Canada. I'll tell the story. I've told this story. Many of you have probably heard it. No, Nigel, it is not too early for a cocktail. It's not too early for a 420 cocktail. It's on high road, Neighbors police videos. You're driving and listening, please drive safe. Sorry. Tin Man's here. Woo! Tin Man's a woot guy. Are you a woot guy? Do you know what woot girls are, you guys? Do you know what a woot girl is? A woot girl is part of a group at a bar that goes out, and when they're together, they're woo! 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 Woohoo! Woo! All the time. You'll hear them. Go to a restaurant. Sit near a group of women, and you'll be easily able to tell if they are woot girls or not. Anyways, I'm having my first coffee, and let's talk about how I came to live in Canada. So if you're not interested in this, well, leave, I guess. I don't know. You'll be filming your 4th wedding anniversary. Filming it. I don't know what that means, William. I don't know what it means. I'm down for it. I personally want those Ray-Bans that take video all the time so that I can remember shit, because we know I don't have a visual imagery in my brain. People always thought I was crazy when I said that. Turns out, y'all have that. And I don't. Anyways, back at it again. To the front. Where did we start? Hi, Hector. We started, I'm going to have to look at myself and not at the chat for a minute to tell this story. So I've talked about this. I'm an immigrant to Canada, and I immigrated, and that's the most Canadian thing you can do these days is immigrate to Canada, it seems. What I mean by that is that immigration is an integral part of the Canadian identity, and it in fact is the only part that continues to keep our population growing as opposed to declining. And so it is just a standard. So anyways, but my family did what I would call a double immigration. So in the 70s, my grandparents, my Nana and Jonda, were given a choice. They lived in Scotland, and they were given a choice of 4 countries. They were wanting to leave and go to another Commonwealth nation or another place, because the options were Canada, America, Australia, and South Africa. And they, between those 4, picked Canada. They moved to the east coast of Canada, which is what a lot of immigrants do because it's closer. And then, but eventually grew tired of the very, very cold weather and wanted to move to the west coast. They heard about this island called Vancouver Island that wasn't cold and didn't snow and that had lovely beaches, and they wanted to move to Victoria. My mom didn't want to leave. She was living in Toronto. She was a young girl in her, early teens, and when she'd already moved from Scotland to Toronto, and now they wanted to move to some little hippie island, and she was not interested in it. And the story goes that her and my Jonda, that's what I called my grandpa, Jonda, made a deal that she would come, and if she didn't end up liking it, that he would bring her back and let her live with her aunt in Toronto, but that she had to come on the trip. And they drove across Canada in a van, and she spent the whole time pouting, I'm told. Sounds like something I might do. Anyways, and came to live on Vancouver Island, and indeed liked it and stayed. That was until my mom was in her early 20s and decided to go back to Scotland to see what that was like. When she went back to Scotland, she met my dad. My dad had never left Scotland. He's a butcher in Scotland. And when they met and they ended up having me, got married, and then came back to Canada. So my dad left all of his family in Scotland, just sort of like my mom had left all of her family in Canada. And they moved to Victoria. Now, the funny story about that situation is that I immigrated when I was around under a year old, but in like 1989, I think. So I grew up in Canada, but my mom and me flew separate, and my dad was coming after. He had a few things to take care of. He was tasked with sending the boxes that they were keeping to Canada and then donating the things they didn't need. And I'm sure you can see where this story is going, but he did indeed donate all of the keep items and kept all the donate items and shipped them to Canada. So, funny. Anyways, Outlander, Anyway, so my dad has an accent, my grandparents have accents. I don't have an accent because I grew up in mostly in Canada, but I'm our family sort of double immigrated. They came back and live here now. My dad lives in Nova Scotia, and then my mom still lives in BC. So it's and some of our family still lives in Scotland, but they like all my dad's family still lives in Scotland, but everybody on my mom's side now lives in Canada. Anyways, so yeah, that was my double immigration story, John. That's how it happened. That's funny. When I was in the Toronto airport this time last year, a little bit earlier in the year, I went and had a very long layover and wanted to just smoke weed the whole time because that's what I wanted to do. And it's legal in Canada, so I should be able to do that. But the Toronto airport has no designated weed smoking areas. The Vancouver airport, by the way, does. They absolutely have designated weed smoking areas, which I find hilarious. But anyways, I went off into this little alcove of the airport, and I managed to smoke all my weed, and I was fine. I'm sure I reeked of weed as I traveled, but I didn't really care. But yeah, so that's how I became Canadian. That's how my sister was born in Canada, but my daughter is also born in Canada. So I don't know if she's like first generation. I think she's a first generation Canadian because her mom's an immigrant, even though I immigrated as a baby. It's a technicality. Oh, also, I have, yeah, I know, Nigel. And so I went and I stood near the dog area. I thought about it. That was a weird trip. Anyways, regardless, let's watch some court. You'll notice I'm not in my kitchen. That's for a reason. But we will be cooking at least once more in the kitchen this week, probably on Friday. But just not today. Germany. My ex-husband lived in Germany for a number of years, like 4 years. Because the Canadian military has bases in Germany. They do, they do, they do, they do, they do. Hey, Judge, what's up? How you feeling? How you doing? Is it cold in there, or does she just like to be warm? When I worked in an office, I used to love having a heater at my feet all the time. Come on, ladies and Judge. Look at the font, you guys. Something fucked up on Zoom, by the way. Your family left Canada to come to America in the 1880s? That's like the opposite direction. Rachel, here's a funny story. So I used to pick up my daughter, and I worked at a dispensary, I worked at a grow, and I smoked weed, and it was all legal. And I've been told, like, oh, you smell of weed. Yeah, I do. Your point being? Like, that's what my response would have been. I wouldn't beat anybody up, and most stoners wouldn't. They'd just be like, oh, yeah. Like, it's not a secret anymore. I get it that it's not everybody's lifestyle, but it's not that bad in my opinion. And I remember, like, yeah. I mean, I worked at a dispensary when my daughter was in elementary school, and they knew that. And I would reek of weed a lot. I still do, I'm sure. For a little while, anyways. Come on, Judge. Oh, look at her head. Look at Jocelyn with a Z, you guys. Yeah, that sometimes I do as well. I sometimes say, does this smell good?
Versus Jalen Witherspoon.
For the record, this matter is before the court on the plaintiff's objection to a referee recommend order referring attorney time to the front of the court for formal investigation recommendation. This hearing is being conducted via Zoom. Is Jocelyn Valade present on Zoom? Oh, there she is.
Yeah, I'm present.
The plaintiff mother is present. Is Jalen Witherspoon present in audio? Mr. Witherspoon has not appeared. And Ms. Valade, you did mail a copy of this objection and notice of hearing to Mr. Witherspoon at the Prairie Circle address in Carlton. Is that correct?
Yeah, I actually have a video. The courthouse gave me an address, and I have a video of my friend putting the paper in his door in an envelope because they told me I'd have to pay a fee to get it notarized to prove it, and I didn't have the money to do that. So
well,
you
signed this. You certified that you mailed it, but you did not mail it.
Well, when I asked them about mailing it at the courthouse when they had me sign it, they told me that I could just take a video of me putting it, like taking it to his house, because I have no way, this has happened to me before where I didn't have no way to show that I did mail it and my hearing was canceled. So she told me if I just took a video of it, that would be okay.
Well, it's highly unusual. So what address, what home? So you were present and you took a video of your friend giving it to Mr. Witherspoon?
We put it in his door, like we slipped it in his door. I have a video of the paper and then I folded it up, put it in an envelope, took a video of the house with the address and then put it in his door.
Okay, and for the record, what was the address of the home?
It's 3 Carlton, Michigan.
Okay. Ms. Brower, is that the address that your office has on file for Mr. Witherspoon?
Yes, Your Honor.
And I did let her know too that on the paperwork, I found Jalen's phone number and I've texted him twice while waiting, so.
Any response?
No, he hasn't texted me back.
You understand this recommendation was just simply for the front of the court to make a recommendation relative to parenting time.
Yes, but I don't feel like it's even necessary because my daughter has no idea who he is. He's never been in her life. And I read the paper that he turned into the court to even open up this case. And all he has to say is that he feels like he should get to see her because he has paid child support. But I actually went to the courthouse and got all my paperwork printed to show that Jalen does not pay his child support. And if that's the only reason he wants to see my
child support's another issue. We're not talking about child support, we're talking about parenting time. And your daughter has a right to parenting time with her father.
Yeah, but she doesn't know him and she thinks somebody else is her dad. She calls somebody else.
I understand he was incarcerated at the time that the original order was entered, but he has a right. What they do is we'll do supervised parenting time. We started slowly so that your daughter can get to know her father. Ms. Brower, I understand your recommendation is to adopt to rescind the recommendation, but all we're doing is seems to the court to be the best interest of the child to move things forward. There's no harm in having in front of the court to conduct investigation. Maybe Mr. Witherspoon will not participate and there'll not be an issue. What are your thoughts, Ms. Brower?
We can refer it to front of the court. If he wasn't present today, so I figured he may not appear or participate in the investigation, and it would waste front of the court's time.
I do have other court paperwork to show that Jalen has not came to other court hearings that we've had. We actually had a court hearing about parenting time and about him getting his rights back, and he never showed up.
Well, again, the court's not real impressed with your level of service. You signed a document indicating you mailed it to him Ms. Vlade, and you did not mail it to him, so your proof of service is questionable, but the court's going to adopt the recommendation. So you'll both be sent to be contacted by the front of the court regarding a recommendation. You can state your opinion that your daughter or child does not know her dad. We'll see whether Mr. Witherspoon responds. If he doesn't respond, then it's not an issue. But your child has a right to have a relationship with her father, even though it would be perhaps supervised parenting time initially to develop that relationship. It's not going to happen overnight. He's got to crawl before he starts walking. So we're just delaying the inevitable.
But Jalen was in prison for a year. In the 3 years before that, he did nothing for my kid. He's never been around her. He does not care.
Okay. Well, obviously he filed a motion for parenting time. So obviously there must be some interest in his part. So we'll refer to the front of the court, have him do a formal investigation recommendation. It's not an order. It's got to come before the court. And when you get that recommendation, you can file an objection. The recommendation will come back before the court before there's any parenting time. So we're just taking one small step forward, Ms. Vlade. So again, at this point in time, Ms. Brown, the court will adopt the recommended order. Recommendation simply to refer the matter to the front of the court for formal investigation recommendation. We'll see whether or not Mr. Witherspoon responds and cooperates. If not, then so be it. So we'll take one small step at a time.
And then if
Ms.
he
Vlade.
does though, then he just gets to see a kid that, what about his other two kids? Like, that's what I'm saying. I think this is so unnecessary that it's just my kid when he has two other kids he hasn't seen in 7 years. This isn't
I know nothing
anything
about
new.
that.
This
This
is a
court's not
normal.
concerned about those two other children. The court's only concerned about the child born to you and Mr. Witherspoon. So we'll see whether he responds. If he doesn't, then it's a moot point.
And then if he does respond, then what?
The front of the court will communicate, will contact him for some input on parenting time. If he does not respond, then the recommendation is that his parenting time be suspended. Continue to be suspended. So we'll take one step at a time. So Ms. Brown, can modify the recommendation. You'll be mailed a copy of this recommendation. All the court's doing this morning, Ms. Vlade is adopting the recommendation that the form of the court conduct a parenting time. Just a parenting time recommendation, not custody, just simply parenting time.
So if he responds to it, then he just gets parenting time? He just gets to see my daughter?
Nope, he's got to come back before the court. And you'll have a chance to express your input at that time. You can remind the court he has nothing to do with his two other children. He doesn't know this child. He's had opportunities to do so. He's not, for whatever reason, I know he's been in prison. I don't know how many years he's been in prison. This is a 4-year-old child, correct?
She's gonna be 5.
Okay, so we'll see what, we'll see whether he responds. If he responds, then you come back before the court and express your concern. The court would most likely, if the court's going to permit parenting time, if he responds, it'd be supervised by Family Council Child Services. So you'd perhaps be able to see the child once every 2 weeks or something to develop that relationship. So take one small step at a time, Ms. Vlade.
But I
So
just
you'll be
feel like
held
if that's something that he wanted, he would have done it 4 years ago. He would have done it 3 years ago. He would have done it 2 years ago. He would have done it when he got out of prison. He's been out of prison for almost over a year.
Yeah, maybe he's gotten his act together. I don't know, Ms. Vlade, I don't know why he delayed, but he did file a motion for parenting time. So obviously he seems to have an interest in develop a relationship with the child. And he references that in his motion. So we'll see whether he responds to the next step. The court understands your position. That will conclude this hearing. You can zoom out, and I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
That position will not help her in this case. She should be overly accommodating, knowing that he won't show up. That's her ace in the hole. And so she should be flippant to whether or not attitude would be better for her child. It's gonna have the same result. A judge everywhere in America is probably gonna give some access to the father, starting with low supervised time and escalating up. Yeah, it's just going to put this judge on edge about this case if you act like this. He had to acquiesce her a little bit there by saying it might be once every 2 weeks for a little while, thinking that would bring her down. She's upset at this guy. This is about to be a bad situation. And again, the child support and visitation are two separate things. They are not related. But he subjects himself to the whim of the court if he doesn't pay his child support and he becomes in arrears.
How am I going to get the information about court?
I'm sorry?
How
You'll be
am
mailed
I
a
going to
copy of this
receive?
order.
Huh?
You'll be mailed a copy of this order,
Okay.
okay?
Judge, that new recommendation is in your queue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, did you
Nancy,
catch
I'm ready on the
names?
11 o'clock when the court is ready.
Jocelyn and Jalen.
So the court adopted the referee recommend order on Blade. The court did adopt the recommendation, or the recommended, the front of the court recommendation.
Yep.
Which objected. Oh, Mr. Pratt,
Yes, sir.
on the front of the court Raymond queue, and I don't know if it's necessary on the odd matter, it shows, oh, you changed that, oh.
I did. Nancy chatted me,
Must have
so I
already-
fixed it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Good.
Nancy, did you want to wait a minute and get Patrice's 11:15 in before we start this one?
You don't mind. One moment.
Her name's Nancy. Annoying voice.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Longton.
Morning, Mr. Lofton. Haven't seen you in a while.
Yes, Your Honor, you're looking well.
You're looking well.
Not as young as
Sir,
you.
take your hat off.
Well, I just had a birthday this week.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you. Number 78.
Okay, that's wonderful. This is my last term. I'm up on the ballot this fall. Of course, I'm 68, and of course, you can't run after age 70. But I still enjoy what I'm doing. So I can be on the bench till I'm 74, and then I'm sure I'll probably go back into private practice after that.
Well,
Like
in
my
all
father.
honesty, if you were willing to be a visiting judge in Wayne County, they'd have you employed full time.
But then unless I can do it by Zoom, I don't think I want to drive to Detroit.
I understand that too.
Is Wayne County, are they changing things? Are they, particularly family court, are they having more in-person hearings in family court?
No, 95% is still Zoom. I've only been downtown twice this year and they were for trials, but everything else is Zoom.
Okay, so I know some courts are going back to in-person. I think the Zoom is ideal for family court docket, and the practitioners down here seem to like it. Now, if I have an evidentiary hearing, I'll do that in person, but the motion hearings, pre-trials, I do by Zoom.
Oh, I agree with you. I don't think anything is lost by doing it by Zoom.
Good morning. Are you William Vine?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Is
You guys
your
hear me?
attorney, Steve Rotenberg, going to be here today?
He's supposed to be. I talked to him. He called me last night, ma'am.
Okay.
Very good. We'll wait on him. Thank you.
Okay. I wasn't supposed to get anything in the mail, was I?
We don't know.
You can talk to your attorney about that, but this
Oh,
is
no, I
Mr.
didn't know.
Longton's.
Right. I didn't know if I was supposed to get anything in the mail. I got something originally, so I wasn't sure. But he called
Okay.
me last night at 10 after 4 and let me know about today, the rescheduled time.
That's okay.
Put you in the breakout room till Mr. Rosenberg appears. Hopefully it'll be soon.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This guy bothers me. I don't know why.
Morning, Judge.
Hi, Josh.
The
Morning.
the 10 o'clock is ready to go. Unless
Looking at-
somebody else is ready before me.
Yeah, 10
So Brad's ahead of you?
I'll go grab them.
Could be.
Whichever one to be quicker.
I have an
Which one do you-
agreement. I don't know if Stephanie has an agreement or not.
Look at everybody just brown nosing up. Kissing up to the judge. 68. Wow.
I think they're both. Yeah.
Derica. Maybe between the two of them, we might see a full face.
Yes.
Calling the matter of Derica Banks versus William Sanders.
For the record, this matter is before the court on the plaintiff mother's objection to a referee recommended order, which denied her motion to change domicile of the minor child of the parties from Michigan to Missouri. It appears that this hearing is being conducted via Zoom. Both parties will be present. You are Derica Banks, is that correct, ma'am?
Correct.
And sir, you are William Sanders?
Correct.
You met with Mr. Pratt this morning, who has provided the court the following recommendation. The recommendation is that the referee recommend order be adopted, but modified, and that the issue of custody and parenting time be referred to the front of the court for a recommendation regarding custody and parenting time, and giving each party 21 days in which to object to any recommendation. So the front of the court will contact both of you to discuss custody and parenting time. They will make a formal recommendation to the court. You'll both get a copy of it, and both of you have 21 days in which to file a written objection. If you file a written objection, will come back before this court for final determination and hearing. If you're agreeable with the recommendation, no need to do anything. It'll become an order of the court automatically upon the expiration of 21 days from mailing. That's recommendation. Ms. Banks, do you understand the recommendation this morning?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Sanders, Ms. Banks, do you have any objection to the court adopting this recommendation?
No, not at the moment.
All right, Mr. Sanders, do you understand the recommendation and do you have any objection?
I understand and no, I do not have any objections.
I'm sorry, you have no objection?
Correct, no objections.
Okay. 5-year-old child is in preschool. Is he in preschool in Missouri or here in Michigan?
He's in kindergarten here in Michigan.
Okay. So that will continue. You understand that, Ms. Banks? So till we address this matter further when the front of the court does their investigation.
Yes,
I understand. What about parenting time for Ms. Banks in the meantime? Is Ms. Banks able to come to Michigan for parenting time?
Your Honor, I have no objection to her seeing him at all, but Your Honor, she hasn't been here in Michigan to visit him since she left except for the times we had court here with referee McKee.
Okay. Obviously, why don't you try two of you talk about doing some Zoom or some FaceTime with your child so that your child can see mom, talk with her. So why don't you
Your
talk
Honor,
about maybe some evenings, a couple days a week where you can do a regular FaceTime with mom.
Your Honor, I bought him an iPad and she can FaceTime him whenever she like.
Okay, good. That's important.
But but he's been telling me she hasn't been calling him lately.
I call him every other day.
And I don't mind it. Like completely gave ownership to my son in regards to his iPad. I don't use it or anything.
He's 5, bud. You can't do that. You can't give a 5-year-old carte blanche with an iPad. You can't do that. That's really bad. And this is where, like, that's a big concern to me. Whatever. I'm an iPad baby. I had unfettered access to the internet as a young child. Young-ish. I mean, as the internet grew, so did I. But a glaring statistic these days is that the average 9-year-old has looked at hardcore corn. Hi Cheryl, dab time. I think it's time. Yes. Anyways, so we've talked about this many times before. You need to be talking to your kids ahead of time about corn. Replace the C for the P. And how that's not real. That's not what sex actually is. You need to have like healthy discussions about that. You need to say these are actors, because that is sort of the main issue when it comes to that. There's just this amazing plethora of availability out there, and there's no way you're going to stop it. And so instead, you need to get ahead of it in terms of why this is a tool that can be used as a healthy human being, but is not a good representation of what a relationship might look like, what sex would look like between two people necessarily. They are actors in acting. They're acting. Even when it says they're amateur, it's not. That's the whole point. So that's something important that you have to explain to kids a lot younger than you think. But especially if you get to, give a 5-year-old an iPad with unfettered access to the internet. You can't do that. They're going to Google, like, some shit. They're going to Google some shit.
Solely for him. We'll try to make it work, Mr. Sanders. It's in your child's best interest to have a relationship with mom. So to the extent that you can make that happen, you are benefiting the best interest of your child. So the court will strongly encourage that. At this point in time, be no objection, the court will adopt the recommendation this morning that the referee recommended be adopted. Mom's motion to change domicile is denied at this time, and the issues of custody and parenting time will be referred to the front of the court for a formal investigation and recommendation. You both received a copy of that. Is there any other questions, Ms. Banks or Mr. Sanders?
No.
Okay, now close this matter and both zoom out and
I do have a
facilitate
question.
FaceTime as much as possible.
Your Honor, yes, I don't hinder him from doing that at all.
I'm sorry?
Or I'm sorry, I don't prevent him from doing any of that at all with her. And she's aware of that.
Okay, that's noted.
But Your Honor, I do have one question.
Go ahead.
I don't know about this process. So my concern is I want to know how long it'll take for an actual decision to be made by the courts.
Well, the front of the court probably have 45 to 60 days in which to complete their investigation recommendation. And then you each of you have 15 days, 21 days thereafter in which to file an objection.
Okay.
So things will stay as they are right now, pending any further action by this court.
Yes, and I have considering the current order, which is joint physical custody, it's kind of impossible. It's kind of impossible for me to get down there every 2 days to get the car. So with me video calling him every other day, is that okay for right now?
Absolutely, that's what the court's encouraging.
Okay.
Try to do it at least a couple of times a week.
Yes, I make sure I do that. Sometimes he's, busy, he don't answer, but I make sure I call my baby every.
Well, yeah, the two of you should talk about your work schedules. What's a good time for the child? Maybe after the dinner hour, maybe 7 o'clock every evening.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So please work together it's benefiting that child. All right. With that, you can both zoom out. Have a good rest of the day.
They absolutely are, Carol. 100%. 1,000%. Absolutely. And they don't mean to look for things. The problem is that parental filters can't always pull everything out. And sometimes it's innocent. You know, when I was a kid, I read medical books. I read everything I could get my hands on, but I read everything. And the search engines weren't the same. Kids these days are very adept, especially at using voice chat. So you have to remember that. A kid doesn't even have to be able to write or read to be able to utilize an iPad and the search function of different search engines. So they could even have it where it might read it back to them, what it is. Or they could search for pictures. Like, there's lots of different things. Sometimes kids think about, you know, naked people or boobies, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's not necessarily sexual. It's sometimes just funny to kids, and they Google it, and then we all know. First of all, if the parental controls aren't on at all, it's pretty simple to get into a pretty nasty way if you click on the wrong website. Second thing is that children should be supervised with screen time, or not necessarily supervised, like over the shoulder supervised. I think a review of the iPad, along with discussions of what you're doing. If your child has an app that they're using, that's ideal. Like, really, you want to make it age appropriate all the way through. The thing is that, however, the more upset and freaked out you get if you find something like that on your child's device, the less they are going to be willing to come to you and talk to you about things. So you don't want to necessarily freak out. You're just going to have to deal with it. You know? It's not always something worthy of freaking out about, but it is something that you think, oh, I need to reassess how we do things. And then as kids get older, like, I would never search my daughter's phone now. She's 15 years old. Some people monitor their 15-year-old's phones strictly. I don't. But that's because when she was in a young age and all the way through, we've had internet safety discussions where I've explained to her that someday she might do something on the internet that she later regrets. Somebody might convince her to send photos. Somebody might do X, Y, Z. And it doesn't really matter. It's not a big deal. The most important thing is that when that person tells you that everybody around you will hate you and that your family won't love you anymore when they find out about this, that you remember that I told you that's not true. That there's nothing that you could do on the internet or otherwise that would make that true, and that you shall in fact come to me, and I will hunt that fucking person down. I will be their worst nightmare. And I remember I told my daughter that and her friends at young enough ages that it made an impression. I could see it in their face. They ain't forgetting that. Because the issue is not if they have naked pictures on the internet. That's really not the issue. The issue is them killing themselves when they're embarrassed that somebody might reveal it. That's it. That's the main issue with the internet. It can lead to children literally unaliving themselves because of shame. And you have to circumvent that and explain that somebody might try and make them feel like shit on the internet because of something they did, and they have to understand that it's not the end of the world. And so now I don't need to monitor her internet or her phone usage like that, because she comes to me with things that I would never have gone to my mother with. And that sometimes I think, why is she coming to me with this? Oh, because you opened these discussion channels that she feels comfortable with. And so it's just a different sort of way of parenting. I wanted all her friends to hear that talk, at least from me, because if they're sitting in their room one day and they've sent a naked picture to somebody and that person tries to blackmail them, they may just have that spark of a memory of Paisley, you know, and be like, oh yeah, she said this was going to happen. Because when somebody's already told you something's going to happen, you take away a lot of the scariness. When the kid realizes, they're like, oh, this is that situation. This is that situation. You remove the power from it. I mean, also, who am I to talk? There's lots of naked pictures of me on the internet. And that's not necessarily something I would say kids should do at all, obviously. But it's also not a moral stance that I'm about to take.
Welcome.
Appears to me.
That's all we can do.
Taryn Mitten versus Jeremy Cash.
For the record, this matter is before the court on the plaintiff's motion for temporary child support. This recently filed the support action. Present is this hearing is being conducted via Zoom. Present is Attorney Carmen Moyer representing the plaintiff mother, Taryn Mitten. Ms. Mitten appears to be present with Ms. Moyer. In addition, Attorney Matthew Vido is present representing the defendant, Jeremy Cash, and Mr. Cash is present with Mr. Vido. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
The court has received fine recommendation from Mr. Pratt. The recommendation is that the party shall share joint legal custody of the minor child on a temporary basis without prejudice. Neither party shall consume alcohol immediately before or during parenting time. Minor child shall not enter any rooms that are being renovated in father's home. Father should make sure that the baby gates he has ordered are installed as soon as he gets them. Father shall have parenting time with minor child every other Saturday and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. commencing November 1st, 2024, as long as SoberLink has started. SoberLink is not in place by November 1st, and parenting time shall commence the Friday after SoberLink is in place. With respect to child support, commencing November 1st, 2024, the defendant father shall pay child support in the amount of $1,496, $1,496 per month. Uninsured medical expenses shall be.
Oh, how many babies? $1,496 US a month. Holy shit.
Shared as follows: plaintiff mother paying 42%, defendant father paying 58%. It's based upon mother having 290 overnights, defendant father having 75 overnights, which of course can change. Further, that it's ordered that the father shall use SoberLink starting as soon as possible. He shall use the device every day for 30 days in a row at 12 noon, 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. Further, the party shall mediate with Josh Walker on November 20, 2024 at 1:30 p.m. A motion hearing scheduled for October 30th at 1:15 is rescheduled to November 20th, 2024, subsequent to mediation. This court will not be available on the afternoon of November 20th, so we cannot, the court cannot schedule motion hearing.
That's the
All right,
earliest board.
we can do it at 1:15. Court needs to be out here at 2:30, Mr. Walker. So we're gonna, this motion we're gonna address before mediation. Is that the understanding?
Your Honor, we can adjourn that to the next available date that the court does have available for that pretrial on my motion. That way we can mediate that day.
So the mediation is good for November 20th, and you want to put a review hearing or pretrial thereafter?
Yes.
Just be a review hearing, because obviously with this order, if it's adopted, that will stop the court's clock. This being a support action, we've got a support order being entered. So that will stop that. Do we need a review date, Mr. Middle? If there's some cannot be addressed, can someone simply?
Just keeping it on the court's calendar, Your Honor, is something I think is helpful to help the parties reach an agreement.
Right. So you want to reschedule the October 30th motion hearing, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, just to accommodate mediation.
Okay, so let's see what's we have available after October 30th.
Was the Monster Mash on Halloween?
5th or 6th. How about the first week of November, the 5th or 6th on our Tuesday or Wednesday docket?
Well, I think we wanted to mediate first.
That's correct. Right, the mediation, oh, I see. Okay, do you want this, I'm sorry, that's right, after November 20th. So the 26th or 27th?
Don't say December.
Are you going
crush
away
my
for
dreams.
Thanksgiving?
I cannot handle that is so soon.
What three is pushing it? Nothing in the morning. Much prefer the mornings.
The 26th would work.
Okay, about the morning, the court prefer the morning of the 26th or 27th?
Your Honor, do you have anything available before that week?
Well, you wanted after mediation, correct? Mediation is November 20th?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
26th or 27th?
You're out of town.
Mr. Cashwell will be out of town?
He's going to be in the UP with probably no service, Your Honor.
Okay.
On the 26th as well?
Yeah, he's gone for a 10-day period.
Oh, he's hunting.
How about December 3rd or 4th?
December 3rd would
We'll
work.
make that work, Your Honor. Yes.
December 3rd works best for my client.
The 3rd.
No, no, no. I just said don't make it December. I can't fucking handle it. I can't. I just needed one more day where we didn't talk about how close December is, okay? And yet here we are, scheduling into December. Oh.
It works for me too, Your Honor.
Okay.
10 o'clock?
That's fine.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Walker. If you could indicate, we'll keep the mediation date of November 20th at 1:30. That the motion hearing scheduled for October 30th, 1:15 is rescheduled to December 3rd at 10 a.m. You can just change that last part of that last sentence, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Moyer, does your client have any objection to the court adopting the recommendation that the court recited?
There was one thing that I don't believe we agreed upon, which is the shared joint legal custody. I thought we were going to address that on the 20th and just leave it as addressing parenting time and support for now.
That's correct.
Your Honor, when I wrote up the recommendation, I put temporary and without prejudice up in that.
Yeah, so it
Parties
does
did
say
not
temporary
talk
without
about
prejudice.
Parties did not
Miss-
did not agree to any type of custody arrangement at this time.
Right, but any objection, Ms. Booker, what's your client's objection to a temporary joint legal? If a child needs elective surgery, shouldn't dad be consulted?
Well, Your Honor, we're going to open a can of worms here because part of the reason, and I want to say Mr. Walker and everybody did a great job today, Part of the reason we're doing what we're doing today is that there are some factual issues in dispute that impact both custody and parenting time. And my client is not comfortable agreeing on even shared joint legal custody at this point. The parties live together. The child is now residing with her full time. It's a 2.5-year-old child. Dad's got some issues that he's willing to address, and we're just gonna kind of see how it goes.
All right, I understand that. So Mr. Walker will just delete that reference to, we won't address custody at this time. You can just delete that reference to temporary without prejudice. So the court will simply, that's all that's been requested, place motions for child support. We have some parenting time and sober link. So we'll just delete any reference to custody then, Ms. Moyer. Mr. Vitado, with the remainder of the recommendations agreeable though, Ms. Moyer, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, I think that was the only issue that the parties, everything else is what they agreed to, Your Honor.
Right. All right. Both parties did participate in the discussions with Mr. Walker. Do counsel wish to voir dire your respective clients regarding this recommendation?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
Do you want the parties sworn, Ms. Moyer?
Yes, please.
All right, Ms. Minton, Mr. Cash, can you both raise your right hand to be sworn, please? Do you both solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony about to give this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yeah. You have to speak a little louder.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Moyer.
Yes. Ms. Minton, can you just state your full name for the record and spell it?
Taryn Janelle Minton, T as in Tom, ARYN, JANELMINTON.
And you are the plaintiff in this matter?
Correct.
And did you hear the agreement that the judge placed on the record?
Yes.
And do you feel like you had a full and fair opportunity to participate in mediation with Mr. Walker today?
Yes.
Do you have any questions about the agreement?
No.
And do you feel like you're freely and voluntarily entering into this temporary agreement for now?
Yes.
And for now, do you believe it to be in the best interest of your daughter?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Thank you, Ms. Moyer. Mr. Vitto, do you have any questions, first of all, for Ms. Minton?
I do not.
Questions for Mr. Cash, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Cash, would you say and spell your name for the record?
Yes, Jeremy Odell Cash, Odellcash.
Thank you. And you've heard the agreement was placed on the record?
Correct.
You understand that this is temporary and without prejudice?
Yes.
It means it's leaving it open for discussion in the future at mediation.
Correct.
Okay, and on a temporary basis, do you believe this is in the best interest of your daughter?
Correct.
Okay, and no one's forced you or promised you anything to get you to enter into this temporary agreement?
No, sir.
Okay, and you want the court to adopt it?
Yes.
Okay, you understand if we had a hearing today, we would have only been hearing the child support issue. But the child support on a temporary basis, you believe that's also in your child's best interest?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Vitto. Ms. Moyer, do you have any questions of Mr. Cash?
I do not.
All right, thank you. Just to make sure we're on the same page, the recommendation to file shall have parenting time every other Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 6. Does that mean Saturday one weekend, Sunday the next? Or is it alternating weekends of Saturday and Sunday, the 2 consecutive days?
The 2 consecutive days.
That's correct.
And that will start November 1st. So November 1st, that's a Friday. Actually, it'll start November 2nd, as long as SoberLink has been set up by then. And Mr. Cash will have November 2nd and 3rd from 9 a.m. to 6. And then the same 2 weeks thereafter, correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
All right, just want to make sure we're on the same page. Hopefully that SoberLink will be in place by November 2nd. All right, with that, we'll modify the recommendation and we will have a review of these issues December 3rd at 10 a.m. After the parties will meet with Mr. Walker on November 20th at 1:30 and the motion hearing date of October 30th at 1:15. Again, that's being adjourned to December 3rd, 10 a.m. All right, that will conclude this matter. We can zoom out and have a good rest of the morning.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Walker, Ms. Moyer,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Bill,
Your
thank
Honor.
you.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Have a good day.
We're working on it. Sometimes I wonder if there's so much divorce that I'm fucking like manufacturing bad juju.
Okay.
Judge, you done? Yeah, he's done. Manufacturing bad juju to show up because I talk about divorce so much. And if I was to go on a date, there's no doubt in my mind I would talk about court. Anyways, my problem. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. We have coming up at 4:05 East, we got a chase with the boys. And then I should be back tonight at 4 Pacific, 7 East for some more court. And then we move on. We move on with our days. Thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it. I loved our discussions, and I love you guys. You're my family. I'm never, ever dating. Oh, I believe it. I just mean, sometimes like what you surround yourself with, you get, if you know what I'm saying. So I surround myself with a lot of divorce, weirdly enough. And by extension, that is conflict. We watch a lot of conflict all the time. But I think it's fine. Anyways, reminder, where is the love? That's a good Black Eyed Peas song. I'm going to go listen to that now. William, thank you for that. Excellent transition. Reminder, I love you, I'm proud of you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!
Always down and ready to ride.